Hello, and thanks so much for tuning in to the Market Wrap on BloombergQuint this Friday. I'm Alex Mathew. We've ended today with 7 straight weeks of gains for India's benchmarks, and that's the longest winning streak since April of 2019. Though the gains were admittedly narrow and restricted to a couple of sectors, it's still a positive end for the week. And for the Nifty 50, we've ended about 100 points above the day's lows. So a pretty good end to the trading week, wouldn't you say? Let's look at some of the contributors, though. Today was very clearly going to be a day for the Indian IT companies to shine. And in fact, for most of the session, you had that happening. That's on account of the Accenture report of its first quarter results that were better than expected. And not just that, the company also raised its guidance for the financial year. We spoke about this during the trade setup, and right enough, the IT pack as a whole gained handsomely. Towards the end of the session, though, you saw some of those counters cooling off. For most of the session, you saw Infosys and HCL Tech leading the pack. You saw TCS and Wipro not too far behind, but towards the end of the session, some of those names dropped down the list. The other sector that did quite well, and you can see that from the top of the screen, is the pharma pack, and Dr. Reddy's Labs ending with gains of about 3%, quite the handsome gain towards the end of the week. Cipla also in that pack, gaining about 1.3%. ICICI Bank was the underperformer yesterday, managed to gain about 1.3% today, and was one of the biggest contributors to the Nifty's gain today. On the losing side, you had quite a few names that were actually doing quite well for themselves in yesterday's session. The HDFC Twins, you'll see in that pack, were the big gainers yesterday. Kotak Mahindra Bank losing about 1.2%. You also have Bharti Airtel that's lost a bit of ground. You have Bajaj Finance, which you won't see in this list, but it also did lose ground. Reliance Industries lost ground as well. But all told, there were quite a few stocks that hit their 52-week highs. Asian Paints, Infosys, TCS, Titan, all hitting their 52-week highs today. Now, let's look a little bit deeper into the outperformer today. That is the IT pack. And I believe Nickey Mirchandani, who's joining me right now, has a bit more on that report on Accenture. Nickey, what are you picking up?
Clearly a good session coming in for IT sector. Yes, it was a positive read-through which came in from Accenture, which was highlighted right from the morning trade setup that it's going to be a good outing for IT companies, pretty much in line with what the street was estimating and what Accenture delivered. The numbers were not just good in the first quarter of the financial year, but what really buoyed the sentiment was the outlook for the second half of the financial year, which was expected to be even better on account of the improving business condition and also the order booking which has come through. For the first quarter, it's a 25% YOY growth that the company has clocked in terms of order book bookings, because of which the revenue guidance has been lifted to 4 to 6% for the entire financial year, as compared to a 2 to 5% growth, which was forecasted by the company earlier, because of which you've seen that strong uptick building in for IT stocks, and reacting to which both the mid cap as well as the large cap IT stocks pretty much reacted positively in trade. But I'm going to bounce it back to you, Alex, and ask you probably the trends that you're picking up from the entire broader space as a whole.
Absolutely. And a small point, in fact, I was speaking to independent market expert Anand Tandon about this report by Accenture. And he said, perhaps you've got to take that with a pinch of salt, because Accenture is actually very strong in the healthcare space, in the healthcare business, which is not really the strong suit of Indian IT. So it's positive, but take it with a pinch of salt. Let's move to the broader markets now. And in fact, the breadth was more or less what we saw in trade yesterday. So you had more losers than gainers, and that's evident on the screen as well. In terms of the sectoral winners and losers, barring IT and pharma, really most sectors were a little lower in trade today. You also had the mid cap and the small cap indices losing ground. You'll see quite a few names in the mid-cap IT space also making the list of gainers here. L&T Technology Services gaining as much as 12.3% in trade. You have a few other names that have done well for themselves. Cummins India, for one, is the second best gainer on the Nifty mid-cap index with as much as 4.3% gain at one point. It has lost some ground towards the end of the session, but really it's trading quite well over there. Among the losers, you have a few financial names that actually have done quite well for themselves in the recent past, which are losing a bit of ground. Affle India, interestingly, losing about 4.4% in trade today. It's cooling off now. It's had quite the run. But I'm going to head back to Nikki. Nikki, you've got a few stocks that you've identified in the broader markets. What are you picking up?
Because these were the two stocks that did extremely well: DCM Shriram and Gujarat Alkalis and Chemicals. They rallied as much as 7 to 8% in trade today because the channel checks which suggested that the caustic soda prices have risen by more than 22%. What's even better is that there is a potential that the dealers see of a price hike coming to a tune of 10 to 12% in the month of January. Now, DCM Shriram has a capacity of 5.5 lakh ton per annum, while Gujarat Alkalis and Chemicals has a capacity of 4.5 lakhs. So clearly, on account of the price hike which has been taken and which is due to be taken, both DCM Shriram and Gujarat Alkalis were trading ended well in trade. What also did well was bunch of defense makers, name case in point being BEML, where the center has approved the procurement of weapons and military equipment worth around 28,000 crore. So that's a big development coming in, reacting to which BEML also ended the day up in green with gains of more than 5.5% in trade. Orient Cement, this is one particular stock which has been doing well for itself. For the last two trading sessions, the stock has moved higher, more than 8.5%, at least when it comes to intraday trade. It's surprising given the fact that now Nitin Gadkari has actually called out bunch of cement makers and have suggested that cement prices have been on an uptrend and they need to be checked. CCI has also conducted an audit in the big three players, like you be it in the name of Ultratech Cement and Ambuja Cement. They all have come out with a filing and clarification saying that at this point of time CCI is conducting a raid on account of just investigating rather the records to understand where is the price hike coming in from. And on back of that, you've seen a regional player like Orient Cement doing too well for itself. Last two trading sessions, almost 15-16% kind of gains, which is extremely strong coming in a counter like that. But Alex, are you picking up anything at this point of time, things that you like to watch out for?
In fact, on the monetary policy front, it'll be interesting to watch out for the MPC minutes or the minutes of the last MPC meeting that has gotten pushed to 5 p.m. So you'll find all the updates. In fact, if you log on to the website BloombergQuint.com at that time, it'll be interesting to find out what the members of the MPC had to say with regard to their thinking behind the last policy decision. And besides that, there's also the build-up with regard to the relief package in the United States. And that has been coming for quite some time. Key functionaries, I told you in the morning in the trade setup in the US, have said that a deal could be passed through Congress imminently. So that could take place either today or over the weekend, and therefore that will have a bearing on US equities. In fact, it could very well be having a bearing on the US equity markets as of now. Nikki, what are you picking up with regard to the global markets?
Alex, you've pretty much covered it all, I must say. At this point of time, European markets as well as US stock futures both are trading in green, indicating to a positive start coming in for Wall Street. Yes, there seems to be a little bit of ambiguity when it comes to Brexit, but then overall, a Moderna vaccine that can be now used for emergency purposes, at least that seems to be doing well for the entire globe. There's a sense of optimism which is being sensed across Europe. And also US stock futures are indicating towards a positive start. So let's hope that the weekend also comes to an end on a positive note for the globe, and there is a positive hangover for Indian equity markets for the week to come. But with this, it's a wrap. Thank you so much for watching.